Ahlan Chevre. How is everyone doing? If you've been keeping up with some of this mockery of an impeachment trial, you will know by now that one of the radical leftists' favorite talking points is to mock Republicans and conservatives of their support of police officers by showing footage of the domestic terrorists who attacked police officers and law enforcement on January 6th at the Capitol building. Mockingly saying, as they show this footage, blue lives sure do matter. Of course, their intent here is to expose some sort of hypocrisy on the part of Republicans and conservatives. But if they were objective, if they were truly as scientific as they claim to be, they would know that in order for there to be hypocrisy here, it would be required that the Republican establishment and conservatives in general say Blue Lives Matter, support law enforcement, but then refuse to condemn the actions of those domestic terrorists on January 6th. However, they do. Republicans and conservatives in general have openly, from day one, condemned the acts of those domestic terrorists. President Trump himself, and the speech that he supposedly, the speech that they falsely accuse him of using to incite this violence, in that very speech, President Trump praised law enforcement of various types. Do you really think he is responsible for the actions of these terroristic nutcases, responsible for their sadistic actions by virtue of a speech in which he praised and said we should be thankful, grateful to law enforcement? Are you out of your mind? You have to be out of your mind to think that. Or just severely nefarious in your intents. Out of your mind, nefarious, or just an idiot. Choose which one you please. No. For Republicans to be hypocrites in this regard, in the regard of Blue Lives Matter, they would have to behave as the Democrats have behaved the last several years. That is, claiming to like objectivism, science, claiming to uphold the law, but then refusing to condemn acts of terrorism when those acts of terrorism are done by people who are part of their voting base, Antifa types and BLM. Unlike Republicans who from the outset have condemned the acts of the terrorists on January 6th, till this very day the Democrat establishment refuses to condemn the terroristic acts of Antifa and BLM. Not only do they refuse to condemn it, but many in the Democrat establishment have praised the actions of these two domestic terrorist groups. Praised, encouraged, indeed incited, with a plethora of examples documented in video explicitly supporting these actions, including even the acting Vice President Kamala Harris. It's so funny how they accuse Republicans and conservatives of whataboutism when we point out this uncomfortable, inconvenient fact of the Democrat establishment. But the only true individuals guilty of whataboutism here is the Democrat establishment itself and their supporters. You see, in order to be guilty of whataboutism, you have to apply double standards, accusing one person of something while turning a blind eye to the problem that exists in your own camp, refusing to condemn equally. And this is exactly what the Democrat Party is doing. In order for Republicans to be guilty of this sort of disgusting perversion of reason, they would have to refuse to condemn the acts of January 6th. But as is widely known, the Republican establishment has and continues to condemn those actions. Unlike those domestic terrorists who committed the atrocities on January 6th, those who have engaged in domestic terrorism among BLM and Antifa are actually inspired by the words of the Democrat leadership. But to accuse Trump of being guilty of the actions of the individuals on January 6th, you would have to say that his calling for peaceful protest and political fighting politically by legal means, even giving examples of what he means by fighting by legal means in that very same speech, you have to say that this constitutes incitement. And if that constitutes incitement, then every single American, no matter what your political affiliation is in danger of such false accusations of incitement. Of course, the Democrat establishment would never apply the same standard to themselves, because it would essentially incriminate virtually all of the Democrat leadership. In order to commit whataboutism, and you have to deflect. In order to deflect, you have to deny that there is an issue, just turn a blind eye to it, not condemn the problem, but just point to the problem in some other group. This is the opposite of what the Republican establishment has done, and this is exactly what the Democrat Party continues to do.